Or they just think, oh, I just need to figure out how I can rotate faster. I just need to figure out how I can swing harder, and I just love what you were saying. It's just for me, when you were talking, I'm thinking just body awareness. You know, Tony's trying to help people get body awareness when they got a club in their hand, and I'm trying to help guys get some body awareness while they're in the gym doing an exercise. And Tony, you sound a lot different a month ago than you sound now.
As far as what my happiness,
your energy level, your body language. I'm not a body language expert, but
I'm pretty good at it.
The body language.
Yeah. Well, things are turning around. I mean, I played good round of golf yesterday, good round of golf today. Trying to have a better attitude. I'm trying to find like my sweet spot where, because like my natural bent, like I've told you, my natural bent, my natural personality is to engage with people and invest in them. Like I played with 3 new guys today, and the guy in my cart is 83 years old. And so I'm obviously just curious about his life and his story and everything. So I had a lot of fun doing that. But then when it's time to hit my shot and compete and play or whatever, I'm trying to flip it, flip the modes, but not be always like, oh, I got to be competitive the whole time, because I don't think that's necessarily my natural bent, how I naturally do my best, because there is so much downtime between shots and golf. It's not like you're playing basketball or football. You're just constantly on the whole time. There's no time for chit chat or, getting to know people. So it was fun today, though. It was very slow, super slow.
Played pretty good today, it sounds like. You said shot 1 over net, like 6 over gross from the tips. Is that right?
Yeah, and that was with a silly double and a few rough balls that just completely grabbed the club face and shut it down, and ball went nowhere. Still, the rough is still super thick at Eagle Ridge, and same at the Noose yesterday. The rough was just super thick. So if you hit in the fairway and it bounced and kicked 1 foot into the rough, you might, we walked past them a few times. It's still just that super thick Bermuda rough right now. It's too tall, but it is what it is, and striking the ball well. And just enjoying it, yeah.
Little housekeeping here as we get started here. So welcome to the Best Golf Podcast there with Mike and Tony and Garrett. Tony Rosselli, PGA, not just PGA professional, but you teach PGA professionals to be good PGA professionals. So he's a teacher of teachers. And we've got Mike Hendricks, TPI certified personal trainer for golfers. Check us out on YouTube, by the way. I did a terrible job last time promoting that. I said the wrong name. It is YouTube at Best Golf Podcast Ever. I think I just said Best Podcast Ever last time. So check us out on YouTube at Best Golf Podcast Ever. We're also on Instagram under the same very creative title, Best Golf Podcast Ever. So check us out on any of those platforms. We got a bunch of cool stuff that we're doing with the video stuff. We videoed Tony and I playing the 2-man Sully's, the 2-man league at Sully's last week, and got that out. We've got another one coming on that. Had a cool idea Tony had there we should do a voiceover commentary of that. That would make that video a lot more interesting. So you guys have an opportunity to do things like comment on my shank out of bounds on whatever hole that was. That was a classic moment on the way to a nice little 9 under round, though. We played well, still won the week. I think we're safe to say we've probably won 4 out of 5. We've got one more to go, but I think our 12 under last week should hold, I would hope.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think I could be wrong, but that's why I wanted to know how much we were winning by each week, the gross, because it's not just for competitive sake. It's to know, is it by a lot? Is it by a little? But I don't think anyone's touching 12 under this week.
Yeah, I don't think so. That was pretty good playing this past week. We'll get the video out for that one soon. Anyway, so good to see you guys again. It's a Saturday afternoon. Tony's played golf this morning. Mike's been cleaning you said your
detailed my truck.
Detailed your truck. I've been at the pool with the kids. So I got the slick back wet hair. Just came running back in here and threw a shirt on to hop on with you guys. So good to see y'all.
Hey, good to see you. I've got a little housekeeping, so you guys know, with my coaching baseball stuff. I reached out to the local high school coach by my house, and let me jump it back into a little coaching. Me doing some volunteering at Green Hope High School.
Nice.
And it's crazy. I reach out to this coach, and he's like, "Yeah, tell me about yourself." And I told him where I played, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, we played at your alma mater in 2021. We beat you guys to go to the College World Series." I'm like, "Yeah, I remember seeing that." But a small world, because he was playing or coaching at Johns Hopkins. I'm not sure how old he is. He looks like he's still in his 20s. But yeah, played my alma mater back in 2021 and beat them in the Super Regional. But yeah, I'm super excited. I got to get my arm warmed up again. But it was a mix of emotions going out to a baseball practice and watching that. And I'm excited to dust off some of my, like Tony, some of the coaching bug, and scratch that itch a little bit over the fall and into the spring. So
exciting, man.
I'm excited.
And volunteering, no stipend?
No, I'll get a hat probably.
Nice. I know you like your hats.
I do. And I noticed that some of the players had two different hats on. So there's maybe a home and away hat. So
you get 2 hats.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's well worth your time. 30-hour a week commitment for 2 hats.
No, that's the best part. He said he will take what he can get, so I can work around my training schedule and kid schedule, and so get out there probably just 1 to 2 times a week, throw a little batting practice, and just encourage some kids and see. Just looking forward to just doing that again.
Awesome. Good for you.
That is awesome stuff. Congratulations, man. That's cool. So what you got, Tony? You said you have some housekeeping also. This is we're apparently in the spirit of Mike detailing his truck. We're just going to make this housekeeping episode. So what you got, man?
This one's kind of cool. This one's don't really know how.
You say mine isn't cool?
Detailing a truck is absolutely wonderful. I love that. And volunteer coaching baseball, that's amazing. That's awesome. That's very cool. So this one is, I don't know how we can potentially work this, but we've got a fundraiser golf tournament coming up in the next year. So we're still in the building and marketing flyers and stuff like that and getting sponsors. And my friend, colleague brought up the idea of what if the podcast was a sponsor of the golf tournament, and we parlayed that into Mike and I giving quick free TPI assessments that might lead to some coaching clients for both of us, right? Or we do a short swing analysis or something like that. And Garrett's just handing out beers and talking, why the hell would you hit this shot? And why the hell would you hit that shot? Just going through strategy or whatever. But
because I am the foremost strategy expert at the game of golf, as evidenced by my 14 penalty shots on the front nine last week.
I don't know exactly how we go about doing that, but she's like, I have access to emails, and it's a good way for y'all to get on the dockets of golfers, people who are at least interested in golf, but we can't just get the emails because I'm affiliated with the university and the tournament already. But if the podcast is affiliated in some way, shape, or form as a sponsor, whether it's Beverage Cart or something, right? And we find a way to parlay that into extra 5 or 6 clients, something like that, or an extra 20 to 30 subscribers or watchers, it might be something that we could do something with. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I love that. We'll have to talk about that some more. Yeah, that sounds like a really cool idea. I love that.
What about a live podcast from the event?
From the event, a live podcast from the event? We can heckle the golfers on the long drive hole with TrackMan.
We can,
I want to interject here. I don't think you two really fully appreciate the amount of editing that goes into getting our content out there to the world in a consumable way. We're a little raw live.
I definitely appreciate how much editing goes into it, because I was sitting there and I was like, man, he's already got this video done and this podcast up. I was like, this dude's on it. He is really good at this.
So we've got Tony and I have played a couple of times. We're playing again this coming Monday. We've played our 2-man. You just played this morning. I want to talk a little bit about discipline and a little lesson that I got from Tony without him really realizing he was giving it to me last week. Where y'all want to start?
I don't know, man. You're the one. You're the captain of this ship. So you just point us in the direction.
That is a ship damned for hell. If I'm the captain,
Look, it's very easy. There's three of us. Mike, do you agree that Garrett is the captain of this ship? Raise your hand.
I will salute you, Captain.
There you go. So see,
Lord
by
help us.
default, you're the captain.
Lord help us.
Outvoted.
So
I do, sir.
before I forget it, so Tony and I played. Was it Thursday? I guess a couple of days ago on our 2-man, and had a great round. I mean, we played Torrey Pines. We shot 12 under. I really wanted to break 60. I really thought we had a good shot at breaking 60, but we came as close as you can come without actually doing it. Had a great time. Well, then Tony had a call that he had to get on, and I talked with some of the people at Sully's for a little bit, and then I started just practicing while he was on his call. And then he comes over and starts giving me some pointers graciously that I hadn't asked for. But he hadn't, and I mean that thankfully, not in that kind of way. I mean, I wasn't asking. I was trying to leave him to his call and let him do his thing, but he comes over and he starts working with me on my weight shift and my hip rotation a little bit and my footwork. And there was a point there, Tony, I don't know if you realize this or not, but we were trying things at half speed, 3/4 speed, but I was itching so hard to hit the ball hard, So I would mix in a couple of full swings, but then I would always go back to the 3/4 swings and the half swings. And then I would go back. And I think at one point I've been doing this with a wedge, and I went down. I was like, okay, I'm going to go through the same routine now with the 8-iron. And I did that, and it was helping a lot. And I got to the full shot with the 8-iron, and I smoked a couple of 8-irons, 172, 174 carries right down the line. And that's the part of my practice session where I usually just start swinging harder and harder and harder, right? But Tony was there, and I knew that Tony would get on me for that. So the best analogy I could think of is just like I don't cuss around my preacher, but I cuss around you guys. When Tony's around, I actually behave myself and do what I need to do on my practice as well. So I actually took the discipline to say, or had the discipline to say, okay, Tony's here. As he says, I'm going to be a good boy, and I'm going to go back down to hitting 3/4 shots and then half shots, and then I'll come back and hit a couple of full shots, and then I'll go back. So just had the thought later on, like, that's the kind of discipline that I need to have in my regular practice with that. Because we sit here and talk about all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, you texted me your practice routine of 5-ball warm up, 10 balls of this, 12 balls of that. And it's like, yeah, that sounds great. I'm going to do that. And then I get to Sully's, and the 13th, 14th through 187th balls are all, see how far I can hit this ball, So just a little lesson learned to stay disciplined in your practice as if Tony was there. Appreciate the tip you didn't mean to give me, but that helped.
Well, two things. One, again, like last night I had 2 back-to-back lessons after my round of golf. One of them was the young guy I had mentioned, NC State current alumni. He works in medical sales or something now. I forget exactly what it is, but this is our second lesson together, and he made great progress again today. But again, I would have to, as a coach, as a teacher, you have to rein him in, because we'd be working on this one thing, and he'd be like, well, now what about this and this? And I'd be like, no, absolutely not. We're not there yet. That's a great question, but we're just not there yet. And he's like, okay, cool. And then he'd focus back up or whatever. So it's just coach, football team, it's all pre-structured, it's all pre-designed, it's all focused and dedicated. So yeah, you have to, if you're not going to spend regular time with a coach paying for sessions or paying for training, you have to learn how to be disciplined. And that's why I keep saying you write it down and check it off. I think that would be, and maybe for you, it would be, okay, I'm going to write down this many reps of this many reps of that. And then when I check those off, then you have 20 balls to just do what you want, go all out, right? Give yourself that carrot at the end of doing the stuff. Now, what I was going to say, part 2 to this, when you said you texted me after the Sully's round, talked about discipline, and I was like, okay, what is he on about? But we were talking, you kept mentioning my ball speed with the driver and how frustrated you were that I kept just bombing it.
Well, yeah. And let me give context on this. So every time we played, Tony plays intelligently within himself, right? And under control. And I say, driver's in my hand, swing hard as you can, right? So therefore, every time we've played, I hit it about 275, 280. Tony hits at about 265. I hit 4 fairways around. He hits 9. My ball speed's about 162. His is about 158. And then all of a sudden, I don't know why, Tony didn't tell me he was going to do this, but he decided to swing hard the other day. And his ball speed's like 168, 171, 172, 167, and he's out driving me. And I'm like, I'll be damned. No, I'm swinging harder then, because we don't do this. This is not, it just never, I just always, let my ego tell me.
Social contract that we had signed.
No, that's not. I'm the power hitter, and you're the one who teaches me to hit it farther. The fact that you started out driving me all of a sudden, I'm just like, no, this is not right. He's cheating. He's got a better driver head or something. Right, This isn't. So it never occurred to me you were holding back.
Yeah, that's what I said, dude, I tried to tell you this like a while back. I said, I used to be like a 175 ball speed gamer. That's what my game speed was. And I could hit 180s, And I was like, did you just like forget that or something? Like,
I didn't believe it. I thought, dude, that can't be true. He's beefing. I'm sure TrackMan probably gives, different numbers. I'm sure I would be 185 on TrackMan. I'm sure that's all it is.
So that's what I thought he was talking about, discipline, because I thought he was going to say he wasn't disciplined. Rather than just playing his game, he was trying to chase and keep up or whatever. So that's where I thought you were going with that.
Well, because I wasn't. I think I told you on like 16 or 17 when we do our commentary video for that, we'll have to bring that up, because there was a point that I told you straight up, like, you got me swinging hard now. Like, I know we're teammates, and I know that, at the end of the day, we're here to win this game, but at the same time, I'm still competing with you too. I want to beat you, and I want to hit the ball, even if it's only 1 yard further. I do want to outdrive you too. So, it got him. It bugged me a little bit that Tony was out driving me the other day. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It did. Even though I'm glad we won, and it was another though. If I recall correctly, and we'll see. We've got the receipts for this. I think we both shot 66 again, and best balled 60, or best balled the 60. So once again, we're one. On the last episode we did, we talked about how in lockstep we seem to be with each other. We still shot the exact same thing. And tag teamed it perfectly. So I'm having a blast doing that. I appreciate you playing with me. I think we're going to do the member guest, I think, too, right? We're going to do the member guest of Sully's.
Yes. I'm down to do it. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Shout out to Sully's.
Shout out Sully's.
I got to meet Mike, of the owner of Sully's, one of the co-owners of Sully's. That was pretty cool. We had a good chat.
Lauren came over to me the other day, Mike's wife and the co-owner of Sully's. She came over to me. I was hitting balls, and she asked me if I'd lost any weight. And I was like, I was almost like, that's kind of rude. Like, what are you trying to say? She's like, I've been listening to the podcast. I'm trying to hold you accountable. I was like, oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening. But update on that. I did get down to, I'd lost about 5 pounds, gained it back over a weekend with mom and dad. And as of yesterday, I've lost it back down. So
you gained it all back over a weekend?
I eat good at mom and dad's. They take care of me. But yeah, so
it'd be rude not to eat your mom's food, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I played Bethpage, so our next match is at Bethpage, Tony, and that's also where the Ryder Cup is going to be at Sully's here in a couple of weeks, or it's actually this coming weekend. Bethpage is no joke. I went in yesterday and just played my warm up round, and I did end up saving it on the back nine, but just heads up, it's the rough is very penalizing at Bethpage.
And the greens, are they really slopey?
The greens, I didn't think were that. Well, the greens weren't bad once I got there. It took me a while to get there to the greens, but the rough is no joke. Even the first cut of the rough is about 10 yards off your carry, and if you get into the deep stuff, it's basically the wispy hay stuff that you just kind of hack it back out. So you gotta get. I don't think our next video was going to be, can we break 60? I'm going to tell you, we're not going to break 60 at Bethpage. That's not happening.
So the other thing that Mr. Competitive Garrett here doesn't mention is that he plays probably 3 or 4 practice rounds before I show up and just play it blind. I'm just like, where do I hit it? He's texting me pictures of like, look, I shot an 8 under and a 7 under. I'm like, awesome. I don't really know how I'm going to help. Like, what am I going to do? So
this goes back to like episode 2 when Garrett was talking about he would he would go to the driving range before a round and then go back to the driving range after a round of real golf. So even in virtual golf, you're still pounding out rounds.
Okay, so let's turn this into a actual teachable moment here. So I have tried really, really hard to not get into that rut of just, like I said, pounding 8 irons as far as I can. So when I go in and start practicing, I've been trying to do more things to simulate real golf. But with Tony and I being in this fall league, it's occurred to me that one of the best things that I can do to simulate real golf is to play practice rounds on the courses that Tony and I are getting ready to play, because that way it's not just that I'm doing it. I know Tony's joking and it's funny, but it's not just so that I can have a heads up on Tony and try to beat him when we play, but it does give us a chance to give him some feedback and say, okay, the rough at Torrey Pines wasn't really penalizing at all. I could say pretty much play the number, right? So I learn a little bit since Tony doesn't have the time. It's scouting mission. There you go. Yeah. But I've been trying to do that to make sure that, I went in and the day I played Bethpage, I hit 25, 30 warm-up balls, and I was like, I don't have it today at all. Like, I don't think I hit a single shot in an hour in the club face. I hit it terrible. And it's like, well, I would like to just sit here and figure out what the problem is, but I would probably drive myself insane doing it. Let's just go play 18 holes at Bethpage, get the practice run in, and it was ugly. I shot 40 on the front, but I did shoot 31 on the back. So I did end up coming out 71, which isn't too bad. I was real happy with the recovery, I guess. But I've been trying to play the practice rounds to keep myself disciplined and not getting so obsessed with technique, because once you get out there, you kind of got to get off technique a little bit. So I've been...
a way to do that for you too is, since you have the option at Sully's to go play on course practice, you can just, whatever club you want to work on, whether it's 8 iron or 7 iron, whatever you're trying to do, you go to a par 3 and you set the tee to that location and you work on your targeting, right? Let me move my dispersion over here to the right center of the green, away from the bunker, and you work on that. That's going to be a lot more close to actual practice or simulated practice versus just pounding on the driver.
Yeah, Sully came over and showed me that feature one time when I first started coming out there, and I hadn't been coming out there that long at that point, and he didn't realize what a head case I was. So he's like, "Hey, let me show you these really cool things that you can do, where you can put these greens and you can rotate them and give yourself different angles." And I'm just like, none of that's going to help me hit the ball any farther. So I appreciate the tip, but you can take that and just
So here's really what needs to happen. What I'm hearing from Garrett is all he really needs is he needs to set up his own league for people 40 and older, where it's just a long draft contest every week for see how far you can hit your 7 iron contest. I think he'd just be happy. I don't think he needs anything else.
Dude, I would be, if they could ever come out with that as something you could actually make a living at, I am on it. Like, that is all I'm looking
sand
for.
Down his grooves on all of his clubs. 7 iron, got it. Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A pitching wedge would be better because I've already got those getting worked in. So my 4,800 RPM spin rate on a pitching wedge would make me a beast in that league. Anyway, I've got to start playing real golf. I've been saying that for a couple episodes. I'm looking forward to Monday. We only have time to play 9 holes.
Monday we can play as many as we can, right? You've got to leave at a certain time. I got to be back on the driving range for a lesson, so I'll be there anyways. But we could probably get 13, 14 in, to be honest.
Yeah.
But how many hours, during a typical day, how many hours are you in the classroom teaching, and how many hours are you giving lessons, Tony?
Me?
Yeah.
So I've got 3 classes this semester. One of them's a hybrid, so it only meets one day face-to-face on Tuesdays. The other one meets once a week on Tuesdays, and then there's another one that meets once a week on Thursdays. So my actual in-class time is not that much. It's just all the other stuff of academic life, the committees. Like, I was on a search committee meeting. We've already met 3 times for 4 hours, right? So that takes up a block of your time. And then you get into advising and planning and grading, and it just chips away at your time really, really fast. And then my lessons, I typically will try to give those in the afternoons, or when I'm working with the Little League at Lonnie Pool, that's 4:30 to 6:30. So it's after hours kind of. But yeah, so I right now with my just on the side golf, paid for golf lessons and coaching, I'm probably 7 to 6 to 8 hours a week doing that. That's all I really have. That's all I really need. I don't really need any more than that. If I can get more, fine, but then it takes away from just other stuff, time with the kids or whatever. So and I try to work it around when I don't have them as well. So that also delineates some of my time.
So I learned something. I could not believe this. When we met up at Sully's Thursday, I told Tony I had an idea for a different intro for the show. And I was like, hey, I was thinking about taking this clip from The Legend of Bagger Vance. And he's like, I've never seen that movie. I was like, wait, what? You've never seen The Legend of Bagger Vance? And then I texted something to Mike and he's like, what's that from? And I'm like, that's Bagger Vance. Y'all have not seen that. Have y'all? So Tony, Tony, you've never seen it. Mike, you said you've seen it one time, like 25 years ago when it first came out.
I'm showing my age. I'm 10 years older than you guys. I saw it in the theater, but that's probably the last time.
Holy crap, man. Y'all are killing me with this.
I don't remember. I maybe if I started watching it, I'd remember. Maybe it was on in
Will Smith and a young Matt Damon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it in the theater, and
it's the only movie that I will allow in the same sentence as Tin Cup for the greatest movie ever. And I'm not talking golf movie. I'm talking best movie. I mean, I'm sorry. Those are the two best movies of all time.
So obviously it hits you in a special place. Where does it hit you that you would put it
man. Well, okay. So Tin Cup is, as it played out, and I don't know if this was the chicken or the egg, but I ended up turning into being a lot like Tin Cup in my real life. And I think some of that might have been...
No way.
Some of that might be that maybe I shouldn't have idolized him quite so much as a young child, because maybe the only difference in me and Tin Cup is he was a hell of a lot better golfer than I am. I wish I could be that good. But that hits me in that kind of way. But I love he's a risk taker, and he's cocky to a fault, but I love that movie. But then The Legend of Bagger Vance it hits me in the part of my soul that should have been listening at that age, because it's more about that when he does the scene about the field where he talks about, and again, y'all haven't seen the movie. I'm saying this like it, but or Mike doesn't remember it. But when he is talking about the mental side and the focus side, and he talks about the scene that I thought about using as the intro to the show is the part where he talks about it's the greatest game there. This is the kid. Hardy Greaves is the kid who's kind of like tagging along and watching this whole movie play out. And he gives the speech to Matt Damon's character. It's the greatest game there is. It's fun. It's hard. You stand out there on that green grass and it's just you and the ball, and there's no one to beat up on yourself. There's no other game like it. Like, that's just beautiful. That'll make me cry. I'm not kidding. That can bring tears to my eyes. So it hits me in that kind of way. Great movie. We have to have that's another idea for content. We need to do a reaction video of us watching that movie together, and we can just commentate over it, because that's the greatest movie that I think there is.
Alcohol will be involved.
Well, I mean, it usually is somewhere or other.
We need to do both movies.
Tin Cup, yeah. Do y'all know Tin Cup at least? Like, that's our intro song, so I hope that one that, man, I love. There's my favorite scene of Tin Cup is probably where he's sitting around with his caddy after he got fired for trying to hit the 3-wood from the rough with David Sims, and he's giving the story of how he failed Q school trying to hit a cut 3-wood into the wind on the par 5 when he only needed a 12 to make the tour, and he made a 13. And he starts that scene by saying, when a defining moment comes along, you define the moment, or the moment defines you. And he says, no, that was a defining moment, and the definition was and that's probably my favorite line of that one. I can still, like, my daughter will give me a hard time about it, or she'll, once in a while, she'll say, hey, do the golf swing by Roy McAvoy scene. I'll just grab a golf club, and I can take that scene where he does the golf swing as a poem. I can do that verbatim with the voice inflection. I've heard that scene probably 10,000 times in my life. Love that scene.
I was going to say, there's a fun factoid in the Tin Cup movie where he's in his RV, and he's got all the training aids on and everything. I actually screenshot that. And I use it in one of my classes about, information overload, system overload, and when to use a training aid, when not to, when is it redundant, when is it overload. But there's a device he's using that is a very famous training aid, and it's the thing that's strapped to his chest, and then it has like a pole extended on a swivel, and then you put your golf club in there. It's called Mike Austin's Flammer. And Mike Austin was a legendary long driver, one of the first guys to really take kinesiology and biomechanics.
Long Drive. Hang on. What's his name again? You said Long Drive?
Mike Austin. He's passed now. He's no longer with us. But he made this whole video series, and he was like, again, one of the first to really use biomechanics and kinesiology terms in describing how the golf swing worked. And his theories behind it. He had some different ideas for how the hips should work and where your power comes from, this, that, and the other. But yeah, most people don't have any clue what that device he's wearing is, but that's what it is. It's the Flammer. Mike Austin's the Flammer. It's a pretty cool little factoid. But the whole point of that was it straps to your chest and it helps you to keep a constant radius with the lead arm and the shaft, that you can swing it about your center and have a constant radius.
So, okay, so this, we can pin this, but you know, me being a coach on the baseball side back in the day, like for me, I think it's okay to have a training aid, right? I think it's okay for golfers. There's so much similarity, the tools that they use for golf aids and baseball aids, but for me, it was the tee. I always, like, you know, you can have all these machines and you can have all these training aids, but for me, it was just the baseball tee, and you can move it around home plate. But that was my biggest tool. I think it's okay to have like a training aid, you know, but like you can have too many, right? So I'm just curious for you guys. So for me, it was the tee. You know, it can go up and down. You can move it around, you know, depending on where you want to hit the ball. But for you guys, what is your go-to, you know, like if you could only have one, what would it be? Or what do you find yourself going back to, you know, over the years?
So for me, so in golf, there's different things. There's teaching aids and there's training aids. I prefer using teaching aids because I want the student to understand the concept. If the student can understand the concept and the what and the why, then they have a better chance at trusting it and then being able to do it, right? Because to me, the training aids sometimes are a Band-Aid, and what happens when the training aid's no longer there? How do you perform, right? You still have to be able to use the club and swing it in the manner that you intend to. So I think the more teaching that can be gleaned and the more learning that can be gleaned from the aid, it's a better more useful aid or more useful tool than just something that would be a training aid that you just throw on your club and it helps you hit it better, but it doesn't teach you anything. Right? So there's a fine line of demarcation, but there is a difference. Like I can use an alignment stick or a pool noodle as a teaching aid. I can show them what the club path is. I can show them the radius of the club. I can show them attack angle with it. I can show them where their club face is actually pointed with it. But that's a teaching aid. You don't hit the ball with a teaching aid. You hit the ball with a training aid. You can hit the ball with a training aid. So I prefer teaching because, again, I want them to understand. But if I had to say two things, probably the one thing that I have found that has a lot of success is just a rope that I made. It's a rope that you swing, and it teaches you how to swing versus hit or try to like pull it down or pull it forward, this, that, and the other, because you can't swing it that way. It won't work. So it teaches people to be more rhythmic, kinematic sequence, all that stuff. And then a good medicine ball or a kettlebell. I teach them how to use foot pressure using a medicine ball. How would you throw a medicine ball from low to high, right? Like a cable chop, low to high cable chop or whatever, or a medicine ball or kettlebell. Because the golf club is so light that when people can't sense the weight of it, their body gets all out of weight. They just pull with their hands or they try to throw at their hands. But you give someone a heavy object, a medicine ball, kettlebell, or you have them do a cable pull, low to high, all of a sudden their brain goes, well, I can't just use my hands to do this, or I have to use my whole body to coil properly and fire, right? So, or to use the muscles efficiently. So those, but again, those are more teaching aids because they don't hit a golf ball with a medicine ball. They don't hit a golf ball with a rope, right?
So I'm going to sort of answer Mike's question by asking my own, because I've never really liked training aids, I guess, or training aids, I guess. There have been a few that I've liked, but at the end of the day, it frustrates me sometimes that I sit there and I put this training aid on and I strike it, but then when I take it off, I can't replicate it, right? There was a guy that I took a couple of lessons from at one point, and he was really big in these, I think he called them training stations, where you basically put alignment sticks in the ground in so many different places that it basically just creates a maze that unless you swing the club perfectly, you're going to knock the hell out of one of these alignment sticks. And to me, that didn't help me a bit because all that taught me to do was to guide the club through the maze all the way up and then all the way back down. It just didn't work for me. And I think that I think that's a reputable system. There are teachers out there that do that, but that just didn't work for me. I'm not trying to knock that entire process, but there is an idea or a concept, I guess, of let's put so many different training aids on that you're forced to swing the club the right way, or let's use so many different things to force you to swing the club the right way. And that's all fine and good, but it ends up feeling so backwards and out of whack for you while you've got the things on. And then when you take it off, your body can't replicate it. So what I've been trying to do more of here lately that's kind of similar to what Tony was just describing, I've been doing it with resistance bands a little bit here at the house, is that I just try to figure out, like, okay, let's just take external rotation is something that Tony's talked about in a couple of videos and stuff before, where one of the keys to good impact is holding that external rotation. You can externally rotate in the backswing, which is just taking your arm and you're just rotating it this way, keeping your elbow in, but rotating it with your forearm away from your body. But then I've noticed here this week and just thinking about it, as I come back down through, I internally rotate it back, and being able to hold that into impact is part of what I'm working on. But then I can also take a resistance band and set it up either, hip high on a door and then, hold my hand out and externally rotate my forearm to hold that. But then you can do that several different ways. You can do it that way, or you can put it on the opposite side and use it to, hold that angle and rotate through it. But what I've been trying to notice as I do that is which muscles are firing to hold those angles. Which muscles am I using? I think that kind of gets back to some of those big kinesiology terms y'all have used, like proprioception, whatever the hell that word is. But but I'm trying to pay closer attention to which muscles am I using to be able to do these things. Tony, when you were working with me on my footwork the other day, you would use, I guess, what you were calling a teaching aid, holding the shaft in a certain place or putting the club on my feet and saying, this is what you need to do. And then I would pause and try to take inventory, I guess, of which muscles am I feeling right now? Which ones am I firing? Which ones are more passive? Which are more active? And then I'll even, sometimes when I'm just at home at night or whatever, I'll get the resistance bands out and see what I can do to simulate that sensation somewhere or another. And it's kind of a 2-for-1. You're building the muscles that you need to use in the golf swing, and also in the process of that, training them to know what it's supposed to feel like. So I guess I said I was going to answer the question by asking one, but is that an effective way to teach your body which muscles to use, how to use them, what it's supposed to feel like when you use them, that kind of thing?
Well, yeah. So going back to what you're talking about, where I would hold an alignment stick and I'd give you feedback on where you needed to be moving. The reason why that you can even pay attention to what muscles you're using is because it's not doing it for you. Your brain is an active part of the learning process. It's not being shut off because you're magically put into this position or whatever. You're magically swinging the club the right way because the training aid forces that, right? And that's what I'm saying. That's why I prefer the teaching aid, because it forces you to engage with it and to understand a concept. Once you understand a concept, then you can do something with it. If you don't understand a concept, you're just on auto, you're driving that car and it's got the lane assist for you. It's going to keep you in the lane. It's not going to let you fail, right? So that's what some of those training aids will do then you're not an active part of the learning process. You haven't learned anything. And like I tell people all the time, even if you don't leave hitting the ball much better, my whole goal is that you learn something so that you can then build upon it.
I don't know if this analogy is going to land at all. I'm going to give it a shot. But the other day, my oldest son is 13 and, obviously not driving age or anything like that, but he's getting to the age where I'm trying to teach him a little bit about driving and paying, because I don't want him to just get his license and here are the keys and here, don't go wreck. Like, I want him to kind of know what he's doing. Well, the other day we get literally to the stoplight at the intersection that we live at. And he made some comment about how to get home from here. And I'm like, Gabe, I honestly don't think that you could get home from here right now if I handed you the keys. I could hit a driver from where we were to my apartment, and I don't think he could have gotten us home from there.
Do you need me to hit the drive? Can you get it there?
Wow. That's impressive. That well played, sir.
That's how to get in his head.
We got one more match. Don't get in my head yet. Come on now. But the point is, he's been riding in the car with me for all these years, and he's been getting to his destination because I've been doing the work. And I think teaching aids sometimes do that. They get you where you need to go, but it's because you're along for the ride. You don't have a choice.
You mean training aids do that?
Yes, I guess so. I said that wrong. Yeah. So training aids.
Yeah.
I'm not repeating myself. You know what I meant. I'll leave that in. Training aids get you where you need to go without, but that you don't have to engage with them at all to do that. So teaching aids it's right there in what you're saying. It's teaching. It's not training. It's teaching you how to do what you need to do rather than just doing it for you. And that's what I appreciated about the way you did that the other day with my footwork, is that you were putting things in place that I had to do it the right way. Otherwise, I would hit the shaft or I would do whatever. But it still had to be initiated by my movement, right? It's not, to some extent, maybe you start with training aids and then you graduate to teaching aids and then you graduate to being able to do it on your own. There might be something said to putting something on that's going to make you get in the correct position so you at least know what it's supposed to feel like. But at some point, you got to figure out how to get it there yourself.
Yeah, and look, you go up and down the tour, LPGA, PGA Tour, driving ranges, you're going to see a variety of things. Some people just use alignment sticks. Some people put a ball between their arms or a glove under their armpit, whatever. But everybody's working on something. But that's the whole thing. If they figured out their best way of learning, their best way of understanding and making these changes that they want to make. I'm not saying, that you shouldn't use training aids or someone shouldn't try them. What I'm saying is, if I had to pick, which I think was the original question, was if you had to pick something, right, Mike, when that was kind of your thing, was like, if you had to pick a training aid or something like that, what's it going to be? That was just from my perspective as a coach, like when I'm trying to explain concepts to people. Because again, at the end of the day, I still think until they allow training aids to be used during tournament rounds, you got to play golf. You got to understand the concept to be able to do it on your own without some form of training aid, right? Like that's the game we play. So I just, like when you do powerlifting competitions, they have gear versus non-gear, but they're two completely separate categories. Those who are competing in gear get to put on the suits, the bodyweight suits, and they can lift hundreds of more pounds on their lifts, but they don't get to compete with the people who are non-gear, natural, right? So they have two separate competitions. So until they allow training aid golf leagues, right, where you put whatever training aid you want on your club, then we're playing a different game.
Mike, and this reminds me a lot, and I've said this on a couple of the episodes we've done, that when I was training with you, that was, I think when I first looked up TPI instructor and found Mike, I think working out with you wasn't what I expected it to be, in the sense that I thought that it was going to meet somebody who was going to like just have some special set of the perfect formula of exercises and lifts and all these things that were going to help you hit the golf ball better or whatever. But in working out with you, what I was finding is that most of the things that you had me doing, I could feel what part of the golf swing that was supposed to feel like. One of the things I've been doing lately a lot when I'm trying to find my rhythm, especially when I'm maybe a little bit off of my swing speed and I'm trying to catch up with Tony and trying to get my distance up there a little bit, I've tried to find the sensation of a battle rope. If I was going to take a battle rope from hip high and just hold it and then just slam it as hard as I could, how would I do that? Because I wouldn't do that by lifting it as fast as I can. It would be a rhythmic or rhythmic, whatever process where I'm going to kind of start slow, build, and then as I get to the top, transition a little bit and then slam it down kind of at the last second. So a battle rope for me kind of gives me, it ends up kind of teaching me a little bit about rhythm and power and how to create power with rhythm and all that kind of stuff. There were other things that you were doing, that were glute activation or different things that I could feel like, oh, this is where I'm using this muscle in the golf swing. And that's where I think there's a lot of really cool value in the TPI stuff that you do, because it's learning how to hit a golf ball and there's training your body what it's supposed to feel like to hit a golf ball well. And I think a lot of people and a lot of manufacturers, I guess, try to give us training aids that will force our bodies to do things, where TPI is giving you lifting movements and different things you can do in the gym to train those muscles how to do it the right way, so that all these things that we're talking about right now, knowing which muscles to fire, how to fire them, when to fire them, what it's supposed to feel like when you fire them, all those things you're kind of doing in the gym, but in the training aids only showing you, it's putting you in the correct position, but it's not strengthening the muscles that you necessarily need to use to get in that position. Where what you're doing with TPI is doing kind of 2 for 1. It's training you what it's supposed to feel like while also strengthening the muscles that you need to be using in order to be able to do that. Right? Am I saying any of this right?
Yeah, you said it great. I think people come in, like I said way back when, I'm like people's last resort, right? Because they either want to go see a pro or go get some new equipment, and when they come to see me, it's like now I have to like work, sweat equity, accountability, but they just think, oh, I just need to figure out how I can rotate faster. I just need to figure out how I can swing harder, and I just love what you were saying. It's just for me, when you're talking, I'm thinking just body awareness. Tony's trying to help people get body awareness when they got a club in their hand, and I'm trying to help guys get some body awareness while they're in the gym doing an exercise. And I'm hoping that translates, and I think they have found that out with TPI, is it's just getting your mind and your body to sync up, and understanding if we can get you more balanced, if we can lengthen your muscles out, like we can help you just understand what your body's doing. Because I think some people, they don't even realize, they just don't realize what they're doing. And I think it's cool when they jump in the gym, and like with you, you kind of figure out, oh, this is what's happening when I'm moving in space, when I hop from one foot to the other, when I slam a ball, when I slam a rope, I can feel things engaging. And so, yeah, it's cool. Tony could address that more than I could, but just I love seeing how the brain and the body connect physically. That's just kind of what I like to do. So, yeah.
Well, going back to, I can touch on that a little bit more, but going back to this idea of like a training aid or something that puts you in a perfect position. Have y'all seen there's this thing, it's a robot, it's like a machine, and they can load up Roy McIlroy swing or Bryson DeChambeau swing, and then you hold the golf club, and when you swing it back, it'll force you into those same exact positions that they hit with the golf club at certain points in the golf swing. And I'm like, that's really cool idea. But Rory is not 6'4". So you put old 6'4" dude in there, and now the club is dropping way low. He's having to squat down super low just to try and get to the ball. Right? It's a moot point at that point because every body is different. So going back and marrying the whole body brain connection, right? Again, that's where it comes back to me. Like you have to understand something first before you can even have a chance at doing it. You might stumble upon it correctly by blind luck every now and again. And they have that aha, like, oh, wow, that felt so effortless, whatever. But then you're just, you're throwing darts blindfolded. You're just getting lucky every once in a while. You don't understand it enough to understand how you had that effortless feeling swing, or whatever the case may be. And yeah, I think, we're talking about movement patterns at the end of the day, and it takes time to change movement patterns, but it also takes time to change the body. Right? Someone comes into Mike for their first session, and he gives them their assessment and gives them their plan of action and then practicing whatever they're going to be doing as far as their training regimen goes. It takes a while for the muscles and the tendons and ligaments to be reaccustomed to something new. It doesn't just happen overnight. So again, when we're talking about working with someone on their golf swing and getting into different positions or changing how they use the ground or this, that, and the other, it all has to be married back to the body. Otherwise, you'll catch it once in a while, but you won't be able to repeat it because those fibers, those ligaments, the fascial system is not trained. It's not stretched in the proper ways. It's not activated in the proper way. It's just random when you finally sync it up or whatever. To Garrett's whole fascination with glute activation, the guy had a very interesting shot today. He was at Eagle Ridge, the par 5, number 13. He had hit his ball left up past the hills and basically on the out of bounds line, but he was still in play. He gets up there and his back is touching holly bushes. His butt's getting spiked by holly bushes. He's sitting there making his practice swings and he's like glitching out, like only extending to try and not like. And so he finally just busted out there and he's like, guys, I was the worst ever. They were like, no, we saw, man. We saw you good. There's a training aid for you.
Yeah, I will say, I mostly work with guys, and a lot of times they come in with like their backs are hurting, and usually that's the first telltale sign that their glutes aren't firing. Nothing will get a guy's glutes firing than having another guy touch his glutes. So when I'm close to another guy's glute, right or left glute, that thing goes ping. So you can edit that out too, but it doesn't take long for me to get a guy's glute activated in the gym.
There's a quote for you.
Yeah.
You want to have your glutes activated, just let Mike touch them, and you're just perfect. With that grin, too. Look at that boyish good look grin he's got going on.
Hey! Yeah, it's fine.
By the way, anytime you guys say you can edit that out, all that ends up doing is giving me a cue for what's going to the end on the gag reel that we do at the very end. But so I was noticing two things, kind of two stories in one here. Tony, the other day, you used an analogy when you were kind of working with me on my footwork that I had. It was actually goes back to like one of the very first lessons that I can remember way back when I was like 12, 13 years old. But I'd never heard it used for footwork. I'd heard it used more for like the torso, but the lawnmower analogy, trying to crank a lawnmower, right? And this is a great image, I guess, for if you want to think about what to do with your body. And what I'm defining as the body is basically the strike zone, the knees to the shoulders, basically, or knees to the chest. What I've always kind of tried to, if I'm trying to get back to basics with my body movement, I try to think back about a lawnmower. If I'm trying to crank a lawnmower, I've got the pulley there and I'm trying to, old school lawnmower, you're yanking on the cord and trying to get it cranked. That's what your body should be doing. And then I'm trying to make things as simple as I can make them in my golf swing. So basically, if I could isolate it and say, okay, this is what my body does and this is what my arm does, and then just train those two things and say, okay, I want to work on body for a few shots and then arms for a few shots. Neither are that complicated. If you can imagine cranking a lawnmower, that's your backswing, and then cranking it with your left hand is your downswing. And then all your arm is really doing is lifting and then externally rotating a little bit. And then your wrist is going to kind of bend as a part of that process and all these things. And then when you drop it, it's just kind of dropping it back down. So the other day when I was out walking, it was night and there were shadows out. And I don't even mean to do this, but as I'm walking, I'm constantly like practicing my golf swing, especially my right arm. I'm taking my trail arm and I'm doing all these things. And I just happened to be walking and I noticed there was a video that I saw a while back on Athletic Motion Golf, where they took the backswing and basically did this thing where if it was just two-dimensional and you were just standing up straight, what would you do with your right arm? And they show you what that position would be, which I can't really do because I don't really have the camera situated right. But
I know exactly what you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
As I'm trying to do this motion with my arm, I'm noticing the shadow looks exactly like it was supposed to look on the Athletic Motion Golf thing. It's like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do with my right arm, and my left arm is going to be attached, so it's going to do what it needs to do by default. If I can just learn how to do that correctly with my arms and at the same time crank a lawnmower with my body, that's really all the golf swing is. It's two movements, one with your arms, one with your body, and if you can do them both at the same time, you're fine. So then in the process of trying to search for that, we start thinking, well, okay, well, how do I get my arm to this position? Do I lift first and then rotate? Do I rotate and then lift? Do I do this? Do I do that? But if you were just, again, back to battle ropes, if I just take a battle rope and try to lift it from my belt up over my right shoulder and then slam it back down on my right hip and follow that motion, that's the motion that you're doing in a golf swing. You're just lifting it from here to here, back down. And then at the same time, rotating your body. So can it, I guess if there's a question in any of that is that, can it be that simple? Are there things that we can do to just isolate one, not one muscle necessarily, but one muscle group, one set of movement? Because if I'm slamming a battle rope, it's not just one thing. It's a compound motion of using several things. I'm using my hands, I'm using my elbow, I'm using my shoulders and my arm. I'm doing all these things, but it's really just one compound movement. And then at the same time, your body rotation is just one compound movement as well. So I'm seeing the value and trying to find the value and just isolating it down to making it that simple. It's not really 18 different moving parts. It's just doing one thing with your body and another thing with your arms, and then just trying to figure out how to find that sensation. Ever how you do that, whether that's in the gym, whether it's with training aids, teaching aids, whatever. But I don't know. That's not a question at all. That's commentary. But what's
No, it is.
what's the response? Is there a question? I don't think there is.
Yeah,
Is there?
Your subconscious question was, what is the
There we go. My
exercise?
subconscious question.
Yeah. What is the exercise or movement that replicates a golf swing the best? Right.
Yeah.
That I can.
I'm so messed up. I don't even know how to ask my question. Right. You just use the term your subconscious question. I don't even know how to consciously ask the right questions.
No. It's not. Well, maybe that's not the right phrase. Subconscious. The between the lines question, right? The between the lines question was basically, what's that catch-all movement I can use in the gym that gets me training my golf swing, right? And again, so if you go back to, I don't agree with a lot in Ben Hogan's 5 Fundamentals books. I think this is going to be heresy. People are going to crucify me for this, but
also that's a hot take right there. That's a very hot take.
So, but like, unfortunately, his book, because again, it's based off of his body, and I think it was post-accident swing. Maybe it's not post-accident, but it's not his fault. He was describing what he did and what he thought he did in his swing, but now how people take and interpret that and mess it all up, right? They fire the hips too hard, and then the club head gets behind the hands, and then they slice it, or they got to flip it to catch it up because they didn't understand what he was doing for him might not translate well to them. But he has an image in the book that, this is what I was going to say, was he has an image in the book of doing a old school basketball pass from way back in the day. And it's, if you go to the book, do you have it with you? You have it pulled up right now or something? He's got the basketball pass.
Just to answer the question, the copyright of Ben Hogan's 5 Modern Fundamentals is 1957. His car accident was 1949. So yes.
So say boom. See, the professor's got it right. It's post-accident. See? Never question. I was kidding. But so if you go in the book, it's probably halfway through the book where he's talking about the basketball pass, and you'll see this great drawing of a sidearm basketball pass. And it's basically coil, uncoil, pass it, right? Pass it on the uncoil. You'll find it. Just flip through there. If you can learn how to do that, there it is. Oh, where's the basketball? The basketball pass.
It's there.
There you go, right?
Basketball pass.
Okay, so that's kind of like the delivery position, right? But if you take a weighted, not a heavy medicine ball, call it like a 5 to a 10 pound medicine ball, and you learn to swing that, you can't come over the top. You won't throw it the way you need to throw it. If you're just going low to high with the arms and the uncoiling that I keep talking about on that spiral line, the ball will go up and to the left where the club goes. Same thing if you grab a cable road, you do a spiral line, low to high cable, right? That's going to train the muscles on the line. You need to do it on, you need to do it both sides so you don't develop asymmetry. But that's probably the best bang for your buck there, is how does the body flow and move. So even here, I'm trying to get into this position where it's going up the line that way. That's what he's describing in that book, I think, is how do you stop from coming over the top? How do you stay under the plane of glass? Well, you take that basketball and you go around that way. And I think as people watch this, you should be able to see this arc, this spiral that goes up this way. Everything in the golf swing is on an arc.
Tony makes a great point about Hogan's book, because here's the thing. I don't know if, Mike, if you realize this or not, if you've ever read it, but if you poll golfers, I don't think it's even a controversial thing to say that Ben Hogan's 5 Modern Fundamentals of Golf is as close to it's viewed as closely to a Bible for golfers as any other piece of golf literature out there. I mean, it's yeah. And the thing about it is, and we talked about this on an episode before, I mean, I went back a while back and reread his section on the grip and tried to grip the golf club exactly the way he gripped it. And it only lasted about 5 balls before I was like, nah, I can't do this. Like, the club's going to fly out of my hands. It just doesn't feel right. So there's even something as fundamental, no pun intended, but maybe a little bit, as Ben Hogan's 5 Fundamentals book, even that, it was his way of playing the game literally 75 years ago. I mean, it's longer than that ago.
It was built towards his clubs and the intended shot shape he liked to play.
That's right.
You should watch some YouTube videos of when players go, and when they used to go and play down in Texas, it was either the Byron Nelson or something like that, Colonial. They'd sometimes bring out Ben Hogan's old clubs, and they'd have them set up to him. They'd be like, holy crap, how did he even hit this thing? Because that's how unique golf is that golfers will build the club towards whatever they want to do. He liked to fade the ball. He wanted an anti-hook swing, right?
Because he started off, if I understand his story correctly, he started off as a massive hooker of the golf ball, and a lot of what he did working on his game was just how do I eliminate that half of the golf course entirely. So one of the things I hate about his grip is so freaking weak. I know you don't like strong, weak, that terminology, but his grip is it feels like it would take everything that I have in my forearm rotation just to square the club face with his grip, right? But that was fine for him because he was. I think it was you that told me the other day something about you asked Rory McIlroy when would he ever hit a fade, and he said never if I can help it. And then you ask Dustin Johnson when would you ever hit a draw, and he's like never if I can help it. Yeah. Right. So
Rory has started to implement like 2 other shots to his driver. One of them is the kind of bleeder fade. But if you watch a video with him, Tiger, and Nelly Korda, Tiger asked Nelly, when do you fade the ball? She goes, never. Absolutely never. And she was one of the best golfers on the planet. Same with Dustin Johnson, those types of videos. But yeah, and then I think Hogan also used to like take his irons before he had them, built to specs or whatever. He would bang them open with a 2x4 to try and get them more open and less square. And then he built up his grips. Like if you watch a video on Bubba Watson's driver, and you see people who are regular golfers, they'll put a right-handed head on it, but put the same spec, how open it is or how much, and they're like trying to hold the club in their hands. Like, how does he even put his hands around this thing? It's so much tape underneath the grip, right? Yeah. So again, we forget sometimes that when a professional golfer of legend is writing their own golf instructional book, they are writing it from their perspective on how they played the game, how they understood their body to be working. They could have little to no training in biomechanics or kinesiology or golf swing, but that's how they interpret what they're doing. I feel like I'm doing this. Cool. Great. You put them on gears or something like that, 3D analysis, it might be completely off base. It might be close, right? But that's the challenge when people try to take something that someone wrote about their own experience, their own vision of how they did something. They try to recreate that. And chances are they're not even built the same way. They don't have the same injuries that Hogan had. They don't have the same hand size that Bubba Watson has. Again, it's like going to Men's Warehouse and saying, Tiger wears this size suit, this size pants. I'm going to go put that on and look how good I look. You're going to look like crap because you're not Tiger Woods, right? It's not you.
How much of that can even go into because this is one of the things that I've done. I've spent more hours than I can count looking at other people's golf swings and trying to figure out how to get myself in the same positions, because there are certain fundamental positions you have to get in, right? The closer to impact you are, the more overlap there's going to be. And I mean, pretty much every golfer in the history of ever has the same impact position. There's very little variation or deviation between one impact position and another if you're looking at a good player. Some slight ones here and there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They all have very different positions at the top. They have some different takeaways. Their delivery position, though, is pretty doggone close also. The closer you get to hitting the ball, the more they're going to start to kind of converge and look the same. But I've spent a lot of time looking at where is Rory at in this position of his swing? Where is Justin Thomas at in this position of his swing? Where is Dustin Johnson at in this? And they're, again, to your point, they're built differently and their clubs are built differently. Sometimes the position that they are in at P3 or P4 on the way down or whatever, it has to be a little bit different to account for what they're doing differently with their delivery or what they're doing different with their hands. So how much of a risk is there in doing that, trying to copy other people's swings?
It's a massive risk. I mean, it's fool's gold at the end of the day, though. So like that's where you look at ball flight laws, right? And it's like, what are the things that create these different shots or these different, outcomes? And as long as you are safely and efficiently getting into impact well, it's just sky's the limit, right? Going back to this video I just watched, it was literally just yesterday, was Tiger Woods and Rory talking about driver and how Rory's tried to add the bleeder fade and something else to his game. And Tiger is great at asking questions, right? And he says, I noticed when you said you're trying to hit this little hold off bleeder fade, you actually toe the club in at address, the driver in at address. And Rory goes, yeah, because that way I'll be reminded to not let it go. If it's already slightly closed and then he does his normal release pattern, it's hook city. So he's like, that's just a subtle little reminder to me. I toe it in a little bit, so I have to hold it a little bit more. And Tiger was like, I did the same thing whenever I was hitting fade. And that's a subtle thing that has nothing to do with their swing. It's just a setup principle and it's just a slight variation. But again, you give that to someone else and it might not work. They figured out what works for them, and But to your point, yes, once you get closer to impact, the more similarities you're going to see.
It's funny. I didn't mean to do this necessarily, but when I was editing the video of me and you at Sully's, you just can't help but notice I'm sitting here just rapid fire watching you hit a ball, me hit a ball, me hit a ball, you hit a ball, back and forth. And I just started to notice just a visual pattern, I guess, that, and I don't even know if you realize you do this, or I think I even brought it up to you the other day. You do have just a slight little left move first that starts you off, but it's not anything it looks like you're doing consciously. And now we've talked about that before, how I've tried, whenever I have tried to initiate the forward press with my body first and start the swing by moving left, that's never felt right. But the more I try to just feel athletic, the more I feel like I have to do that, because back to my medicine ball or my battle rep thing, if I was going to try to slam a battle rep as hard as I could, the first thing I would do is get myself some momentum by leaning left and then rebounding back with the right. So it's funny. Trying to emulate every single subtle movement another golfer makes can be a really stupid thing to do, because what you're doing to trigger that, the most important thing is make a good athletic move, right? So I think there's a lot of personalization to that, right? And finding what your version of that is, so that you could just make a good athletic move in the golf swing.
Yeah. So, like I said, I gave 2 lessons on Friday, and 2 completely different bodies, 2 completely different body types, 2 different ages. And the first guy, like, he just picked up golf. I think he's like 32 or something like that. He just picked it up. And no disrespect to the guy, but like fluidity and grace and like tempo and rhythm dancing, it's just not there. Like, he just doesn't have it yet. And golf, you have to have that fluidity. So I was just really trying to work with him on, he was like, I don't even know how to start my swing. Like, how do I start moving? Because we do like walk drills and step drills, and he could do it then he gets to the ball and he has no process or no trigger that sets him in motion. And so it took 15, 20 minutes of trying to figure out what would work best for him. And I said, dude, you got to give me feedback here. If this one doesn't make sense, it's just not, you can't figure it out. We're going to go on to something else, because it's fool's gold if it doesn't click and it's not natural, right? If you have to force it, then it's not really going to do much good. But for me, yeah, so same type of deal. If one of the explanations I gave to him was basically, if you're going to try and jump as far as you can, you're going to do a few steps before you crouch, and then you're going to go up. I said, without a trigger in the golf swing, basically what you're doing is the equivalent of standing straight and then just trying to jump. You have no build up. You have no building of pressure, tension, coil, whatever, to start that initial movement process in the first place. Right? When the sprinters in the blocks, they sink into those blocks that they can then push off. Right?
Yeah. Why do the sprinters even have the blocks, right? They have the blocks so they can push off. If they weren't going to push in the opposite direction of where they were going to launch, there would be no need for the blocks.
That's right. When someone goes to shoot a basketball, they go down first to then go up. They don't just go straight up. So that's all the trigger is with the golf swing. To start it is, how do I get into a fluid dynamic motion from a static position? Well, the easy answer is, don't start from a static position. Start from a fluid position, right?
Yeah. Well, even a physics lesson in it to some extent, because, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? Mm-hmm. I think you even referenced something like that when you were talking the other day. But even in my grip, I mean, I came across this thing about a year ago that was really helpful to me, and we've talked about it a couple of times here, about the pressure points in your hands on the golf club. And there's one that's your right thumb, for the right-handed player, right thumb kind of pressing in, or your right lifeline kind of pressing into your left thumb. And then there's also the left, the lower 3 fingers on the left hand, the pinky ring and middle finger. And one of the interesting things that I've kind of learned as I've been working on those things is that those 2 are connected to one another. If I press on one, the other pressure comes naturally with it. And if I press on the other one kind of comes with it. The 2 are connected. And even in your golf swing, I mean, sometimes trying to figure out where your feeling's coming from, there's 2 different ways to create that sensation, with the right side of the body or the left side, or, ever how you want to word that. But there's even some physics in that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's kind of like what I was telling, I keep talking about, like, Bryson's good at showing this because he's so exaggerated with his feet and building up the pressure. Kyle Berkshire, same thing. But when you see them really about to go hit a full out drive, they really, like, Kyle does the waddle type thing, right foot off the ground, left foot off the ground, right, and then he goes, right. He's setting that pressure. And Bryson is more of like a foot pumping. He like pumps the feet into the ground. I do something very similar. And I was using that with the young guy and the older, not older, he's 32, whatever, but right, like the two guys I gave lessons to, I was showing them how it has to match with a chip shot versus a pitch shot versus a full effort shot. You need to build the appropriate amount of energy in the feet because that gives you the right trigger for how big of a swing you're going to make. If your feet are just stationary, all you're doing is swinging your arms. Does that make sense? Right? Because if the feet, even like tennis, right? Mike, with tennis, what do the coaches always say? Keep your feet moving. You don't want to stand flat footed, right? So you're keeping the feet pumping, you're keeping the feet moving such that whenever you have to react, you can push in the opposite direction to go. But if you start in flat footed, now you have to manufacture motion versus flowing with motion.
Yeah, body in motion stays in motion. Body at rest stays at rest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something that I've tried to figure out with my own golf swing.
So, how to do it? Are you talking about like how to get it started? Like what that trigger is for you?
Yeah. I relate to what you're saying about the constant motion. And I think, I think for me, it's just, how to start that, I think especially with the driver, it's like how to start. Cause I like the guy, the guys with baseball and with golf, there's constant movement and there's maybe a little bit of a pause, but then there's a movement. Sometimes there's that movement forward. I was thinking about the long drive guys. I had an opportunity to listen to some of these long drive guys when I go to these continuing ed things. And it's so cool because how they incorporate their lower body into starting their swing. And I know you've referenced that before, that movement to the left for a right-handed golfer and then back to the right to start the swing. I've tried so many different things.
Well, and so I was never, you talk a lot about baseball, and in full disclosure, I was one of the world's worst baseball players of all time. I mean, I was absolutely horrible. But in a baseball swing,
you have ADD, and so baseball is not a good sport.
Hang on, Mike. Let's not, I can do a lot of magical things in the editing process, but I can't actually magically make you not rotate yourself mid-sentence. So let's try that again with you not rotating your camera as you talk. Mike is like seriously rotating his camera as he talks, and I'm like, I can't do anything with that. You're gonna need to do that one again.
Well, I keep dropping the calls. It's like the third time I've tried to jump back on this podcast.
That's okay. We can see. I can always edit that out where people never notice that you left. But when you're talking and I've got you on camera to talk and you're rotating the camera, dude, you're killing me on that one.
This is the equivalent of me getting up and leaving the table when we were.
It really is. Yeah.
So what are we talking about?
Well, when I was talking about baseball and being a terrible baseball player, and you said it was because I had ADD, but in the baseball swing, if I understand it correctly, you're still going to start right when you're going to start your baseball swing, you're going to start moving towards the pitcher first, and then kind of load your right side, right?
Oh, it's such a great question. So as early on in the learning process, when you're like a little kid, at the 6, 7, 8 years old, there's just kind of this step and swing, and as you get older, there's a whole loading, and I love what you're talking about. There's so many guys that look different at the top of the backswing, but at impact, I can't tell you how many pictures I've looked at baseball players at impact, and even golfers at impact. They, they all look the same. It's just how they're getting there. But yeah, I think it's just how to have a rhythm. Some guys wiggle their, if we're going from a baseball perspective, some guys are wiggling their lower half, some are wiggling their hands, some don't even have contact with the bat with all their fingers yet. But then at some point, everybody gets to the load position, some type of load position, and then everybody gets to impact, and they all look kind of the same. It's just everything before they get to impact is style or just how they're made, how they their size, biomechanics, and just It's all different.
Well, it's funny. And Tony, you said something to me the other day that when you were working on my feet, that reminded me of something. This probably would have made more sense if I would have said it a few minutes ago when I was talking about the physics thing. But I remember hearing when people think about get your weight off of your, transferring your weight from your left side to your right side back to your left. One of the things that amateurs are really bad at doing is we try to get off of our right side. We try to transition our weight from the top of our backswing where it's on our right side over to our left by pushing off with our right foot. Okay, well, what happens when you push with your right foot? You have to have weight on your right side to do that.
Push, yeah.
So it was one of the best. Somebody asked me at Sully's one time, somebody asked me how to hit the ball further or something, and I remember telling this, and it was like you could see their brain blowing up in their head when I said this. But I said, what I try to feel like is that as I take the club back, I don't try to feel like I get my weight on my right side. I just try to feel like I get it off of my left, right? And then when I start to transition back, I don't try to feel like I push off my right side. I just try to feel the pressure on my left foot. And the analogy that I thought of with this sometimes, this is probably not good, but we've talked about it a few times before with, racing analogies. If you've ever seen one of these old NASCAR or IndyCar wrecks where the car gets turned sideways and then it starts flying through the air and flipping and all this kind of stuff, what's happening is that car is getting light. The air gets underneath it and that makes the car light, makes it lift up off the ground. So as I'm trying to take the club back, if I'm really trying to focus on that, I try to feel my left foot get light, not my right foot get heavy. Right? Because one or the other is going to happen. If I try to feel like my left foot gets light, my right foot has to get heavy because this 180 pounds is going somewhere. I don't, there's nowhere else to put it. And then on the way back down, I just try to feel like my right foot gets light and that makes my left one get heavy. And that's one of those, if I'm struggling to get speed, that simple thought's usually worth 2 or 3 miles per hour because it's usually how I'm timing that transition. Get the smile off your face, Tony. I'll get that. That'll be on my checklist when we play again. Is to try to find that speed that you've gotten on me. But so many times
with 3 miles an hour.
Ooh, baby, that might get you to 165 miles an hour ball speed. What's up now? So there's a book. I think it's by David Lee. I read years ago. It describes exactly what you're talking about. It's called Gravity Golf. And he describes he calls it a counterfall. So, and he draws this like arrow type fall of where your pressure shift is going and his teaching and his philosophy of where it goes. And the transition to downswing is basically, it's not a push off the right side. It's a counterfall. You're countering and falling to the left, to the lead heel. And so that's exactly what you're saying. The one foot's getting lighter and then the other foot gets lighter, right? But you're not pushing. And how many times have I said in the videos or whatever, you don't have to do anything. It needs to happen, right? It needs to be, because again, once people say get to the left side, well, how do I get there? I guess I better push off the right side, right? So it's an intention and it's a reaction force. It's like I said, a reaction, equal opposite reaction that causes all of that. But the concept has to be right here before you can even perform that. So that's all at the beginning of learning versus training. And that's where the learning comes in. We should be trying to learn something, not just do something. Same thing with the baseball players, right? Jeff Bagwell, he had the really low, wide stance back in the day. Albert Pujols, hands high, but they're all doing something here. This is the waggle. This is golf. Yeah. This is the waggle, right? This is the baseball player. It's the waggle. They're staying in motion. Yeah. The tennis players spinning their racket, bouncing side to side with the feet. Okay, the boxer on their toes, ready to go. No boxer of merit just walks up to you and just goes, psh, because you need to have that flow. You need to be dynamically moving in order to move. Even walking.
I love that.
All walking is disrupting balance and catching yourself. Like you just fall forward and catch your feet. That's why kids, when they first learn, they just fall. They're disrupting balance, but they haven't caught themselves yet. They haven't learned how to catch with that foot yet.
Okay, so I have a question. So someone like me that's, just the weekend warrior guy, and you're not really sure, or the older golfer, because I work with a lot of older guys, right? And they're statues sometimes, and I've gone to the driving range, with my guys, and I've seen them, and it's just the older you get, right? It's just the slower you kind of lose that rhythm. So how do you, if you're not sure how to get it or what yours is, what's a generic way to helps somebody find rhythm when they're standing over the ball.
Yeah. So you're talking about to start the swing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
to stay in rhythm so that they can be more athletic. So that's, I'm trying to help them be more athletic in the gym, but when that translates out on the golf course, and you see a guy standing like a statue over the ball, looking very unathletic.
Mm-hmm. Active hands, active feet. Your hands stay active on the golf club. You're waggling. You're getting it going. Again, watch every professional PGA, LPGA Tour. They almost all do something with they're moving the club. Maybe they're feeling the shot in their hands. I had a lady who played at Texas A&M University. I got to play a round of golf with her and some other friends. And before she would even part of her pre-shot routine, she'd be feeling, is it a hold off? Is it a release? What is it? And then she walks in the shot and she's figuring that out, right? She's feeling all that, but she's staying active, engaged with the shot, her imagery, the hands. And one of the things that, I think is important too is the feet, right? You got to be active with your feet. If you're standing there, statues' feet don't move. Humans' feet move. Dancers' feet are always moving. Athletes' feet are always feet. Athletes' feet are always moving. So I've been working a lot with this with people. Basically, here's your feet right in the ground, right? Again, building the pressure. How much pressure you remember Mortal Kombat, the original, where you had to push A-B to get and then you chop, right? You chop the bricks or the wood or whatever it is. Same thing with the golf swing. That's what Kyle Berkshire, that's what Bryson are doing. They're building how much pressure does the shot require. Build it up, build it up. And so I'll show you next time we get together. I'll show you all the way from like a chip shot up to a full shot. You'll watch my feet and you'll see, okay, you could tell the size of the shot I'm going to hit by how much pressure I'm building with the feet.
Well, and shout out to Tony too, because when this was what he came over and started talking to me about the other day after our round, is I'm sitting there hitting golf balls, and he came over and we started talking about how I was kind of swaying a little bit, I guess, and we went back to the drill a lot as we were
from here to here to here to here. It was a big
shot. I have a big move. I've got a strong butt and I move it a lot in the golf swing. Maybe it's not so strong. I just move it a lot. But we started going back to the walking drill that we did in the over here one time, where you just line up 5 golf balls and you just walk and hit them. And we'll have to do that again. I don't know if that's on YouTube or not, but we'll have to get a video of that one again at some point. But then what was funny, and say shout out to Tony on this, because what you just said, Tony, about building in your feet and doing all that kind of stuff, I don't remember, maybe I'm not remembering it correctly, but I don't remember you actually telling me that. But in the process of me doing the walking thing, when you finally said, okay, now just hit a ball, what I subconsciously started doing was that wiggling with my feet without you telling me to do it. And I was like, I'm actually starting to do that. I'm walking in place, basically, because I've gotten so used now to walking into the shot that now I'm kind of just walking in place and moving my feet like little paddles as I'm getting ready to hit. And I was like, I almost feel like I want to just start the swing that way, like step up with my, step into my left side and then swing. And that worked out. That helped my rhythm so much. So, props to Tony for that, because he taught that without even telling me he was teaching that. But it was something that the way you taught it, I learned to start doing what you're getting at.
Yeah. Happy to hear it. But again, it's yeah. And that's the thing. There's so many ways to teach something. I can either tell you and explain it to you, or I can give you something that helps you to feel it on your own. Right. And you just got to understand like who you're working with and what's overload, what's underload. But what I'm doing, again, like as I'm teaching someone, is I'm watching their brain process, and I'm saying they're clearly not getting this. And that's okay. And I tell them, don't be embarrassed if what I just said doesn't make sense. It's my job to communicate with you in a way that makes sense for you. Your job is to ask questions and understand. And if you don't understand, to continue to ask questions. And it's my job to help you understand. So that's why you have different imagery, different terminology, different words, because it helps people of all, walks and brain types and thought process types to figure it out. But yeah, so back to your earlier point, Mike, I think people you'll watch them, you'll go to the range with them, and you'll see they're just stationary at the lower body. They have nothing going on. They're probably not very good at dancing. They probably don't have good balance and coordination in general. They probably don't have good kinematic sequence in general, just because they don't know how to start from the ground up.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're at an hour and a half before I start editing, so that's probably about enough for today. And I gotta use the bathroom, so we're gonna.
I gotta watch NC State football, so we're good.
All right, guys. Well, thank y'all as always.
Aggies. Shout out to the Aggies.
Aggies are off this week, I think, right?
Notre Dame last weekend, though.
Yeah, it was a great game. That was a really good one.
I need my Astros to win tonight. We're game back playing the Mariners tonight. So let's go.
Oh, Seattle Mariners.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Tony's named a nap again all of a sudden. But
talking about getting your feet activated. Get your lady friend to activate those feet again.
There you go.
You pent up for about 5 minutes there.
All right, guys.
Well, thank y'all as always. Always have a good time.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good.
See you, boys. Later.
Bye.
I've done nothing on YouTube except publish videos. There's been no extra effort, really. The videos we put out are not even really that good. They were just the first ones we did. But the reaction and the watch time and the engagement and all that kind of stuff is actually beating my work page, which I work very hard at and have for several years. So whatever y'all are saying raw is working out pretty good. I'm trying to get a little bit more time into polishing it up a little bit.
So raw animal magnetism.
That's it.
I'm living the dream here. I got lady friend brought me some drink.
We just totally lost any hope we had of a clean rating on YouTube. Thank y'all.
No live podcasting.
No live. If you were wondering why we don't do live podcasts, there you go. That's why we don't do them live.
But yeah.
And action.
And action.